Welcome in back in the studio. 49ers get some more good news today on the Players' Day off. Short week ahead of a showdown against the Chicago Bears. 49ers didn't land until about 4:30 a.m. last night in the Bay Area, heading home from Indianapolis. George Kittle is not dealing with a high ankle sprain. It is a mid to low ankle sprain. Kittle yesterday did say this.
My concern level, I don't think it's a high ankle sprain, so, we'll take it one day at a time, and we'll go from there. It happened second quarter. I don't know, we had a drive. I feel like I got hip dropped. Ankle got stuck in the grass or the turf, the cork turf, really weird field. And, try to tape it up. Went in the third quarter. Then it just got worse from there. And, if I can't, run very fast or plant, then I think it's a better op for my other tight ends to go in there and make plays.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler just confirmed that it is not a high ankle sprain. So they've done the imaging after the early morning arrival back from Indianapolis. And this means that George Kittle is likely to be day-to-day instead of at best week to week. We've dealt with so many of these high ankle sprains covering the 49ers over the course of the past several years. And almost every high ankle sprain is a guaranteed minimum absence of, I would say 2 weeks, but probably more like 4 weeks. So the fact that it's a low ankle sprain means that it's not going to be a guaranteed minimum couple week absence. Maybe Kittle does miss a game. That remains to be seen, but this could be as quick as a day-to-day injury. It is worth noting that Kittle had his helmet on the sideline, wasn't immediately getting treatment yesterday. A lot of how this proceeds moving forward will be dependent and reliant on how Kittle survived the flight. Flights can be really rough, especially long ones in the middle of the night on some of these injuries, but perhaps he was feeling really good today. The adrenaline has to come down after a game. You look at the imaging, you can determine exactly how severe an injury is. And, this is the NFL. A lot of guys end up playing after taking pain-killing injections on Sunday. So we'll see if George Kittle can get to that level ahead of what's going to be a critical game against the Chicago Bears, because George Kittle is an absolutely critical player to the San Francisco 49ers. He leads the entire NFL in EPA, expected points added per target. Take a look at that. We actually saw one of the top 3 guys yesterday in Alec Pierce. Maybe I should say future 49er. Alec Pierce. Did you guys see him? He scored 2 touchdowns yesterday for the Colts. One against the safety Jair Brown, and then the other, very, very curiously, came without safety help against Darrell Luter Jr. But, we can talk about 49ers schematic problems yesterday or the first couple drives later. Alec Pierce is a really, really good player who is a pending free agent, a 6'3" wide receiver with 4.3 speed. He can block downfield. The Colts love that about him, but they haven't re-signed him yet, and he's going to be a free agent if they don't re-sign him ahead of the 2025 window or 2026 window. And I think that the 49ers have some Brock Purdy, not Brock Purdy money. They have some Brandon Ayuk money that they can dedicate to somebody like Alec Pierce. I would expect him to be a 49ers target in free agency if he is indeed available. Just a thought. But look at where George Kittle is. There's more with the George Kittle and where this comes from. He and Brock Purdy have had an absolutely sensational connection to the point where they combine for a 144.6 passer rating. Whenever Purdy targets Kittle, he has a 144.6 passer rating. That is the highest between any quarterback receiver duo in the last 5 seasons, according to NFL Next Gen Stats. So not only do they top the EPA list, Purdy, when targeting Kittle, has an 83.9% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns and no interceptions this year. That is the highest rating, 144.6 of any NFL combo, any NFL tandem over the past 5 seasons. Brock Purdy's QBR, by the way, right here, leading the NFL right now, is the highest QBR that we've seen since 2022 when Patrick Mahomes was at 79.0. So Purdy's topping all these lists, but one of the main weapons, probably the favorite weapon, the truly elite connection that he's had that's made up for some of the 49ers' lack of explosive wide receivers is George Kittle. So this news today on George Kittle that it is a mid to low ankle sprain, not a high ankle sprain, is very, very welcome news for the 49ers. Now, there still is a chance that George misses this coming game against the Chicago Bears. And I think this is going to be a fight for the 1 seed life for the 49ers. I don't think this is going to come easily. Ben Johnson is one of the best that there is in this game. He's a first-year coach, but he understands the margins. Chris Babcock, who helps out with a lot of the stats on the KMBR radio broadcast, we communicate a lot of it on social media. So you actually might have seen some of this. But Chris was talking about some of the indicators that come through so positively for the Chicago Bears. They've got a +4 turnover margin during their win streak, and their defense has caused multiple turnovers in 4 of the past 5 games. I've spoken of the fact that the Bears have over 30 takeaways on the season, which leads the NFL, which is obviously very, very correlated to winning. But the Bears are also scoring on 2 of the 3 key 3 possessions. And there are possessions that correlate very, very strongly with winning football if you could score on them. They're more important than other possessions. The first possession of the game, the last possession of the half, and the first possession of the third quarter. The Bears have also ended the half with the ball in 4 of their past 5 games. This is something that Kyle Shanahan has talked about a lot in the past. The 49ers analytics people love this number. They've found that if you end the first half with the football, that is very, very strongly correlated with winning. Because what you can do, especially if you are starting the third quarter with the ball, you can lap an opponent. You can score at the end of the half, then you could turn around and score coming out of halftime, and that gives you a full possession advantage over the opposition. In games that are close, and let's face it, most of the NFL is close, especially on Sunday. We can expect it to be close. It's 2 11-4 teams going at it. In games that are close, this kind of stuff really, really matters. And Ben Johnson is really good. His staff is really good at trying to get these edges. One of the ways that the 49ers have been perennially good is that Kyle Shanahan's staff is really good at this. So you're going to have not only 2 good play callers going at it on Sunday, but also 2 very analytically oriented staffs who understand where to get an edge. So the 49ers, my larger point is that the 49ers are going to need all hands on deck in this game. Maybe George Kittle isn't available. I mean, they can't control that, right? At some point, that's going to be up to George Kittle's recovery. That's going to be up to the training staff. It's going to be up to the severity of this ankle injury. It seems like there's a chance since it's not a high ankle sprain. But if they don't have George Kittle, the one redeeming piece of news is how good Jake Tonges has been this season. Let's give Jake Tonges his love. You know what? Brock Purdy threw 6 touchdown passes yesterday. I don't care what anybody says. Tonges' feet were in bounds. That was one of the most spectacular throws that we've seen Brock Purdy make. It is a pity that perhaps 2 of the most spectacular plays that Purdy has made in his NFL career have not counted as touchdowns. I'm talking about the wild card playoff round against the Seattle Seahawks 2022 season. Brandon Ayuk couldn't catch the football after the mad scramble drill from Brock Purdy. And then I'm talking about yesterday, where it wasn't as crazy of a scramble drill, but Purdy spun out of the pass rush twice, rolled to his right, and just fired an absolute bullet to Jake Tonges, who caught the ball, but the ref said it was incomplete, and for whatever reason, the 49ers didn't challenge. Now, very next play, Brock turned around and threw a touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey. So all's well that ends well, except I think that Jake Tonges deserved a touchdown pass. I think Brock Purdy deserved another highlight, and maybe Christian McCaffrey fantasy owners are happy, and good for Christian. He deserves all the production he can get because he's such a workhorse. But the larger point here is that Jake Tonges, when he's been called upon, has been very productive in the receiving game for the 49ers this year. Now, George Kittle is irreplaceable. You're not going to get a one-for-one replacement just because of what he does in the run game and in the pass game. I mean, he's so good in both. He's a walking Hall of Famer. The 49ers run game turbocharged from number 27 to number 8 this year in on-off splits for George Kittle. So, I mean, he is very clearly an adaptable chess piece that changes the numbers, changes the tilt of the field for the 49ers. But at the very least, when you don't have Kittle, at least you can rely on Tonges to give you a solid receiving game. And they beat the Seattle Seahawks. And it's funny because Seattle's coming up again on the schedule on January 4th. Can't really look ahead of the Bears, but they beat the Seahawks in week 1 without George Kittle for the majority of the game because it was Jake Tonges who played the hero in that final drive. Yeah, I mean, he had a couple catches before he made the one that we compared to Dwight Clark and the catch. So Jake is a player who has shined in his opportunities so far this year. He deserves some credit, but the 49ers also, two things can be true at once. He deserves some credit. They'll have a chance even if he has to play the majority of the snaps, but they certainly would like George Kittle to be part of this operation on Sunday Night Football against the Bears. New article just dropped on the San Francisco Standard. This is for you guys. Those of you who have signed up already, congratulations to you. You win a prize. I don't know what the prize is, but you have all this good 49ers knowledge. That's the prize. I think that's worth something for a team that's 11-4 on what seems to be a magical run right now through a ton of adversity. But here's another chance for you to subscribe to the San Francisco Standard. Just put up the grades piece from yesterday's game. After Brock Purdy dominates the Colts, the 49ers focus shifts to George Kittle's ankle. We've got the update for you, and I've got grades up and down the 49ers roster, grades and snap counts. So a lot of interesting observations, and I'm going to go ahead and go through all of them here in video format, but the written format is just different. It's better. I think it complements the video very well. So the link to this article is going to be in the description shortly. I am sending it to Mike right now to toss into the description, and I'll go ahead and put it into the comment section right now as well. Nice picture there of George Kittle, who was really, really good yesterday before he had to exit the game with the mid to low ankle sprain. There was only one real blemish on the game for George Kittle, and it's really, really hard to call it a blemish because it would have been a very hard catch. But Kittle is so great that we almost expect him to make every single one of those plays. And it was the red zone play. Purdy just put a perfect ball on him. Kittle had to turn his body, though. It was almost a 180-degree turn, and with pads and a helmet on, when that's moving so fast, he wasn't quite able to get around quick enough to secure the ball, bring it in. We all remember the catch against the Patriots last year. That was I think, in a way, an easier catch than the one that he dropped yesterday because he was facing the football already. This one he had to pick up turning around and just couldn't, the body control on display. To even make it as close as it was impressive from Kittle. But let's not call it a blemish. I know I called it a blemish at first. It wasn't a blemish. It was just a play that it's like, oh, wow, that could have been yet another touchdown pass for Brock Purdy in this game yesterday. I mean, he was just throwing dime after dime after dime. I talk about it a lot in this grades piece. Of course, we go to the staggering graphic to end all graphics, which is this one right here up on the Standard. I mean, this is the piece that ends every single argument. Look at where Purdy's at. It's his third down efficiency. I could put a bigger version of this up on the screen a little bit later, but it's all NFL quarterbacks and then Brock Purdy. Like Purdy, I said it earlier, I will say it again, he is on a different solar system than every other quarterback in the NFL this year in third and fourth down efficiency. a lot of people are starting to come at me with the sample size argument. Oh, the sample size isn't that big. Brock Purdy is the most efficient quarterback in the NFL ever since he entered the league. Don't come at me with a sample size argument when this guy, if we take his entire career, has been at the very top of the charts. Like, you are, everybody who knows, everybody who's been on the wrong side of this knows who they are. And my message for them is give up now. Maybe 1% of your credibility will stay intact because you've already lost at least 99% of it. And, you know, I'll be honest, it's probably going to be impossible to come back from this. You have inaccurately blasted and inaccurately labeled an elite NFL quarterback, the game's most important position, despite all of the data sitting right there in front of you over the course of the past 3 years. Yeah, that's a credibility destroyer. And I think that's why some people are clinging so desperately to whatever they can and why they keep on moving the goalposts on Brock Purdy, because they have so planted their flag in the ground of Brock Purdy is not elite over the course of the past 3 years that they're on an island now. They can't get off of it. But they've had so many chances to get off of it, so many good games. Kyle Shanahan yesterday pointed out that this is who Purdy is. You know, some of the questioning is like, oh, you know, what is it like for Brock to be so good for you now? And Kyle basically says, this is what he's been like for us over the course of the past 3 years. He's been a consistent quarterback. So the whole idea, the whole ruse that what Purdy is doing right now is somehow new, that it didn't exist in 2022, 2023, even in 2024 when things were collapsing around him, that needs to die. That needs to end. It's a lie. It's not true. He's been the most efficient quarterback, the number one quarterback in football ever since he joined the league in 2022. And it might start to be cool to acknowledge that now, but we were here way before it was cool. Let's hear from Brock Purdy about his mindset. This is from the press conference yesterday.
Nah, man, I think it's just putting pressure on myself. You know, every drive before I go out there, like, hey, man, like, go out. It's one play at a time. Every play has a life of its own, but put pressure on yourself to be detailed, do the fundamentals right. And it's like living in that kind of mindset rather than trying to make stuff up or just say, hey, let's get into a rhythm here. It's like actually take action in that. So that's been my mindset. And then obviously to be able to win games like we have and put a streak together, it's great and all, but you know, we don't get wrapped up in that. Like we have to legit watch the film, get better, and go blue collar, win it the next week. That's our mindset.
So a couple things. The 49ers have not punted since last month, and it's December 23rd. It's almost Christmas. Yes, there's been a bye week in there, but that's 2 straight games without a punt, and that also is part of NFL history. The 49ers are the first team in NFL history to score more than 80 points and not punt a single time over a 2-game span. So yesterday they put up 48 against the Tennessee Titans. What'd they go for against the Tennessee Titans? It was something over 40. I forgot what it was. They put up a lot against Tennessee the week prior. It's been over 80 combined points. Were they over 40 against Tennessee? I forgot. It turned into garbage time at the end. They were at 37. It was 37. Yesterday was 48. So obviously above 80 total for the 49ers. They do that without punting a single time in that 2-game stretch. That's NFL history. The 5 touchdown passes for Brock Purdy is 49ers Monday Night Football history. Technically, you can say that he threw 6 because the Jake Tonges one, that possession he had to throw 2 touchdown passes. Steve Young has the 49ers record with 6 touchdowns in one game. The last time that they won a Super Bowl against the San Diego Chargers, January 29th, 1995. And I wrote this. This was an interesting factoid because I think it plugs right into who Brock Purdy is stylistically as a quarterback. The last 3 49ers quarterbacks with 5 or more touchdown passes in a game: Joe Montana in week 6 of 1990, Steve Young with 6 touchdown passes in Super Bowl 29, that was 1995, and Brock Purdy last night. And what I wrote is that it's fitting because Purdy plays like a hybrid of Joe Montana and Steve Young. A lot of people went out and said, oh, Montana, because he's reading the defenses, he's not throwing these bullets, he's throwing a really catchable ball. The first touchdown to Demarcus Robinson yesterday was masterful work looking off the safety. The touchdown to George Kittle yesterday might have been evocative of Montana because of the way that Purdy rolled right and then kind of fired a bit back across his body. But a lot of how he plays in the backfield and then with the scrambling, I think, is closer to the Steve Young style of play. Steve was obviously faster than Joe, and I think that Brock, especially in short areas, has more of the Steve Young speed. And, the Steve Young ability, it's got this really strong base. Like, Steve Young's base was stronger than Joe Montana, so you saw those guys shake off pass rushers more effectively. And you see it happen with Brock Purdy quite a bit. So when Kyle Shanahan was asked in 2021, while the 49ers had the number 3 overall pick, what made the ideal quarterback, he said that he wanted a quarterback who could throw like Drew Brees and move like Lamar Jackson. Brock Purdy essentially brings the desired traits to the table for Shanahan. He's obviously extremely accurate. We know that he can throw to all parts of the field. He's opened up the 49ers offense in new ways because of the ways that he could throw outside the numbers. There have only been 6 quarterbacks in the last several years to throw touchdowns on 4 outbreakers in a game. Like, it's really tough to stretch the field with the speed of NFL defenses on outbreakers. You have to have great accuracy and great arm strength. One of those QBs is Mahomes. One of those QBs is Lamar Jackson. I think Joe Burrow might have been another one of those. I mean, these are really good quarterbacks who have been in that exclusive group. Brock Purdy joined that group yesterday. He definitely has the Drew Brees-like accuracy and the arm that you need to accomplish that. Then you talk about the legs. And a lot of people think that just because Brock Purdy can't run 40 yards as fast as Lamar Jackson, that he's not elite when it comes to movement capability. But that's not true. You don't run a 40 to get away from pass rushers in the NFL. You might run 2 yards at a time. You might take 1 step at a time. You might have to sprint 10 yards at a time. Anything beyond that's more scrambling quarterback rushing ability downfield. I'm talking about the quarterback movement ability. Kyle Shanahan, when he said that, was talking about quarterback movement ability within and around the pocket. And that Brock Purdy does at an absolutely elite level. I mean, he's got a 1.5 10-yard split, which was 95th percentile for quarterbacks. But the main thing is that 10-yard split isn't just a number. It shows up in the way that he plays because it's like he has eyes in the back of his head. So he's able to escape the pass rush. He's able to step out of the pocket. He's able to step up in the pocket. He's able to spin out, sprint, and then throw accurately on the run. You saw that happen at least twice yesterday. Once on the touchdown to Kittle, then once on the second touchdown that unfortunately wasn't counted to Jake Tonges. I mean, plays like this happen over and over and over again. And then the proof ends up being in the pudding because Purdy has the lowest pressure to sack ratio in football. And then it ends up really being in the pudding when you see the third down efficiency numbers for Brock Purdy, which absolutely break the screen. Again, like, he is off of the graph here. This guy is in a different solar system right now than other NFL quarterbacks. I'm just going to go out and say it. Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in the National Football League. I don't care about what Mahomes did 3 years ago. I don't care about what Joe Burrow did before his turf toe, before the Bengals completely sucked. I don't care about Josh Allen. I don't care about Matthew Stafford, who's being carried by a Rams run game and a defense this year to a much greater extent than Brock Purdy was ever carried in 2023. I care about what these guys are doing now, and the tape and the data speaks unequivocally on the issue. I mean, this is insane. And if you haven't hopped on board yet, if you haven't hopped on board with the truth in this matter yet, you might as well hop on now. Because the 49ers don't have a great defense. We know that. The 49ers actually don't have a great run game this year. We know that too. But the 49ers have a chance to win the Super Bowl because they have this guy on their team. Point blank. Period. Without Brock Purdy, there would not be a Super Bowl chance for the 49ers. Now, there are other contributing factors on top of that. You know, the special teams has been massive for the 49ers as well. But, I mean, they had 34 points through 3 quarters yesterday. The Colts could not stop this offense. The Titans could not stop this offense. Then the Cleveland Browns, who are a top 5 defense, who really, really slowed Josh Allen just this past Sunday, they couldn't stop Brock Purdy in windy conditions. Their 49ers are 5-0 since he's returned. They're averaging 34 points a game. At some point, and I wrote this up on the San Francisco Standard, at some point, you know, some level of offensive production, some level of excellence from Purdy and the guys around him, Kittle, you really overrule defensive concerns, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't know where that point exactly is, but say that you're averaging 42 points a game. Well, your defense can totally suck and you'll still win because you're scoring 40 plus a game. So I don't know if that point is at 31 points a game, 32 points a game, 34, where the 49ers are at right now with Purdy over the last 5. Yeah, I tend to think that the defense yesterday wasn't quite good enough for the 49ers to win a Super Bowl, that they're going to have to find ways to be better than they were on the first 2 drives. But guess what? They found ways to be better than they were on the first 2 drives. 7.5 yards per play for the Colts over those first 2 marches. The next 7 drives, all of a sudden, the Colts were down to 4.1 yards per play. The adjustment was simple. And, you know, I think that Saleh deserves some criticism. I think the 49ers deserve some criticism for not being ready for the Colts passing early on. I get it that Phillip Rivers didn't throw anything downfield on tape. But I think the 49ers, I don't know if it was arrogance or just a lack of self-awareness. Their pass rush is not Seattle's pass rush. So I think it was, you know, we talked about it over the course of the week. We said, hey, Phillip Rivers is not throwing the ball far downfield, but it probably was at least partly due to the fact that Seattle scares the crap out of you when they're rushing the passer, and they didn't want Phillip Rivers to die. So they got rid of the ball quickly. The 49ers should have been ready, since their pass rush isn't as strong, for Rivers to be pushing the ball further downfield. Unfortunately, they weren't. Fortunately, it didn't cost them because they figured it out after the first couple drives. Still, Purdy put up 34 through 3 quarters, and he still had to walk a tightrope into the 4th. So even though all's well that ends well, the 49ers need to be better defensively when they play some of these playoff teams. The Colts are probably not going to be a playoff team based on the fall off lately. We got some more clips to play. We have some good stuff. I love this clip from George Kittle talking about the difference from the 49ers 2024 team to 2025. This is good big picture stuff from George Kittle. Let's have a listen.
I would say, one, Christian McCaffrey being healthy, huge. I mean, he's 900 yards both ways. It's pretty sick. Good job, Christian. And then I'll give credit to 2 coaches. One, I love Robert Saleh. I just think his energy and his fire that he brings every single day, and he's a really good coach. I think that's awesome. And then our other guy, Gus Bradley. He gives the greatest pump-up speeches the night before every game. And they're just stories, and they don't really have anything to do with football. They're just fun, but they always have a really good point at the end. Whether it's getting the wheelbarrow, it's everybody hop in the wheelbarrow together, we're all going in the same direction. Just stuff like that, and it just brings this I know. I view him like similar to me, Gus. Like, just loves the game of football, has a great time coaching it, loves every single day, every opportunity, win or loss, like loves it. And like that just kind of bleeds into the entire office. And so having someone like that, I think is incredibly helpful too.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was the first piece of like tangible insight that we've gotten on Gus Bradley's role in the 49ers building. This is a former head coach. And the defensive coordinator, the original defensive coordinator, the original architect of the Legion of Boom under Pete Carroll. So he was Robert Saleh's boss first, and now Robert Saleh is technically his boss, but I think it's probably much more of just a friendship and a collaborative effort at the top of the 49ers defense. I mean, Saleh might be the mastermind here, but Gus Bradley's one of the original minds, and he's got head coaching experience. And I mean, he's got this wisdom that's worth its weight in gold on the staff, and he's there talking about pushing wheelbarrows in the same direction. I don't know what exactly that. George Kittle just gave a brief example. Sounded like a cool story though, and talking to Gus a few times, I could see how he could give good motivational stories the day before a game. You know, you could talk about analytics and you could talk about X's and O's and all you want, and then you could talk about having talent on a team all you want, but sometimes it's about those bonding moments. It's about those unifying presences, those gregarious presences, both on a team. You know, they have that in Kendrick Bourne. I think Jauan Jennings is a great locker room guy. George Kittle is a great guy in that regard. But you also have to have them in the coaching staff. And it's really cool to hear that about Gus Bradley. I mean, Kittle just mentioned that he was one of the reasons why the 49ers have gotten so much better from 2024 to 25. Then he mentioned Christian McCaffrey, who has surpassed, by the way, Kittle didn't give McCaffrey enough credit. He said he's 900. He's 1,851 now. Over 1,000 rushing yards, 851 receiving yards. So he needs 149, $149 in the receiving department over the final two games to become the first ever to go 1K twice. So that's a milestone to keep an eye out for. But yes, I mean, getting McCaffrey back has been massive for the 49ers. You know, my list, 2024 to 25, my list would be CMC back, obviously. Way better backup quarterback situation. Mac Jones, number 4 in success rate. The 49ers weren't getting that last year. Christian McCaffrey, I think, is very clearly tied into that success. Special teams has improved from number 32 dead last to number 2 in the league. They're in a race with Seattle for the number 1 special teams ranking. And then Robert Saleh. Last year, the 49ers ranked number 29 against the run. And this is something that's going a little bit under the radar from last night, but it's not going to go under the radar much longer because I'm about to talk about it. The 49ers this year have managed a middle-of-the-pack run defense where they were bottom barrel last season. And yesterday against the Indianapolis Colts, the 49ers allowed less than 3 yards per carry. And this was a Colts rushing attack that we knew was dangerous. And I know that they chose not to focus on it early because they wanted to catch the 49ers by surprise with the pass game. But at the end of the day, 20 carries, 58 yards, 2.9 per carry. Jonathan Taylor, 16 for 46. 49ers have, I think, succeeded this weekend when it comes to stopping the run. Maybe getting some of those guys back and focusing on that run defense. I know that they were a little open against the pass early on in this game. They fixed that too later on, and then D. Winters housed the pick 6. But maybe we should acknowledge how well the 49ers played the run yesterday because that did help them maintain some control of game flow. And then, you know, one more pillar that's changed from 2024 to 25 is Kyle Shanahan. I think he went to Cabo probably a few times over the course of the offseason. He needed some rest and relaxation. He got it. He came in with a nice suntan this year, which showed me that he had gotten his proper Cabo time in. And a lot of these play caller charts last season, Kyle Shanahan did not score well on them. And take a look at this. This is where he's been this season. There's been high volatility for Kyle Shanahan. He's high on the volatility index, about medium on the predictability index, which means that it's been hard to game plan against him. Another play caller that's scored similarly to Kyle Shanahan, who's been seeing a lot of success late in this season, is Kellen Moore, the coach of the Saints. The Saints are on a 3-game win streak, and that's a team without a whole heck of a lot of talent. So, you look over to this side, and somebody like Ben Johnson, that's who the 49ers are facing this week. He's high volatility, low on the predictability index. Oops, it's not showing anything. Sorry, guys. Let me get this up on the screen. Here it is. Mike said, your screen is black. I apologize. Here I am. This is me saying sorry. Let's get back to it. Okay, here's Shanahan with Kellen Moore at the very top. So it's high on the volatility index, medium on the predictability index. High volatility, low predictability would be over here on the right. Somebody like Ben Johnson is in that corner. And then you've got the more predictable guys over on the left side of this XY chart. But I thought last year Kyle Shanahan was a little predictable, and he didn't introduce new concepts at all. One thing that they didn't do last year with any screen passes. And I think that losing Christian McCaffrey threw the 49ers for a loop last year. He was the guy that they trusted on plays like that. They didn't have much of a check down game that they trusted. I mean, Isaac Guerrero seemed to catch more bombs than he did short passes when he was filling in for Christian McCaffrey. And it just hurt the overall stability of the 49ers offense. And I thought that, losing McCaffrey threw Kyle Shanahan out of his groove. And, we know that it all went to hell last year, but just a good illustration of how the 49ers have progressed here in 2025. There's got to be more here that we can show you. We have there was the great Trent Williams talk. Why did Shanahan not challenge the Tonges TD? He says that he did consider it. Let's listen to Kyle's explanation for this. I wasn't in the locker room during the time of his press conference, and I haven't heard this answer yet. This is why he didn't challenge Jake Tonges' should have been touchdown.
I did consider it. But I was a little reluctant off the information I got earlier on one. But I was thinking about it. And I still don't know what I was going to do. I was thinking about when I ran the line. I didn't know Brock was going to go quick count. Honestly, went quick count, so I didn't get to make that decision. And I quickly, when I saw he scored, I was glad that I didn't. But then they told me that he scored, so I'm sure Jake's upset with me, but it ended up all right anyways.
Well, that's tough. So the 49ers had lost the challenge earlier, I think, that Kyle Shanahan had gotten information from upstairs on, and the information was incorrect. So obviously he wasn't happy with the information that he got earlier in the game. That made him reluctant to throw the challenge flag on this one. It sounds like a perfect storm. It sounds like Brock Purdy going quick count to get back up to the line of scrimmage gave Shanahan less time to make a decision. So unfortunately, Jake Tonges did not get his touchdown in this game. Instead, Christian McCaffrey got his touchdown on the very, very next play. Too bad for Jake Tonges. Fortunately for him, he scored a much bigger touchdown earlier this season. I also want to hear from Kyle Shanahan on Jauan Jennings, because Jauan Jennings is a whole heck of a lot of fun to watch.
Jauan's been huge. I mean, the way he stepped it up last year. When BA went down with his ACL, and Jauan played as our number one receiver all last year. He's had a lot of injuries this year. He's battled through them all, and he's been able to come back, and he's finishing the way that he's, to me, always been.
Jauan had the whole viral moment yesterday where he played the Grinch and he showed the football to a fan not quick enough, took the ball away from a fan. What a fun game for the 49ers. What a fun season this is turning out to be. Those of you who are not members of the San Francisco Standard yet, this is the latest article. I'm going to go through the grades for San Francisco. We're going to go through this position by position. I'm tossing this one up on the screen right now. This is what it looks like. We can talk about this. As you might expect, really good grades, maybe not across the entire board. A+ for Brock Purdy. We have the graphic here, how he's dominated on third downs. Christian McCaffrey in the run game, really good for San Francisco. an A for Christian McCaffrey, 117 yards, 57% success rate. His 24-yard run, his season long, not the 49ers season long, but Christian McCaffrey's season long. That is, I think it was 20 before that. Purdy had a 26-yard season long against the Tennessee Titans when he had the funny taunt at the end of the play that he ended up apologizing for against Cody Barton. Receiving, A- for the receivers. I docked them a little bit for Kendrick Bourne's drop. But, I mean, you could go here. We could look at the receiving efficiency summary. I mean, this might be a little bit more of a Brock Purdy stat than a receiver stat. I mean, it belongs to both. But look at all the green on here. I mean, the efficiency of the Purdy Kittle connection. I mean, that's why we started this show talking about the good Kittle injury news. The efficiency of that connection is absurd. Every single time that George Kittle was targeted, they added 1.22 expected points. Every single time that Jauan Jennings was targeted, they added 1.51 expected points. I mean, there's a Jennings stat. Sky Moore was targeted once. That was 2 expected points. Small sample size, I get it. But just goes to show you that, everyone got involved yesterday. Unfortunately, Kendrick Bourne's drops, one which led to an interception, one which briefly cost him $500,000. Put his number into the negatives, but we'll still give KB some love. He had a good post-game little media session. I've played that one. Maybe I could play it again in a little bit. Then there was Jake Tonges. That should have been higher as well. Still in the positives for Jake Tonges. Anyway, A- for that receiver room. Remind you right now, we're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. We are growing meteorically on the channel. We are up to 96,205. If we get up to 96,300 by the end of this show, everybody will win a prize. But we're trying to get to 100K, 100,000 real subscribers, mind you, not fake subscribers. And I think now is a really good time to hit that subscribe button. You could also become a member of the channel right now. We might have a couple super chats. This is about, wouldn't Kyle Shanahan having higher predictability? Wouldn't Kyle Shanahan have higher predictability having less to work with? Yes, that's true. If he had more to work with, he could probably be more creative play calling wise. But I'm not sure about that. But I would assume so. Richard says, simply run a trick play for every play. I don't know what you're talking about, but thanks for the super chat, man. Much appreciated. Michael says Purdy was basically perfect. He was perfect yesterday. He had the highest, Pro Football Focus quarterback grades seemed a little sketchy to me. I prefer the quantifiable stats instead of the subjective game grades, but there is something to be said about the fact that he scored the highest game grade of any quarterback in this 2025 season. There wasn't a blemish on there. Even the interception went off of his receiver's hands. And, people saying, here's the thing. A lot of people say, well, Brock Purdy's arm strength is not elite. What's wrong with Purdy's arm strength? He has literally elevated the 49ers offense and opened up new windows of this offense by his ability to throw sideline to sideline outside the numbers. This is yesterday. This is the throw chart. I mean, this is one of the this is a virtuoso performance. This is how it's illustrated. Look at the throws for Brock Purdy near the sidelines. Remember, a football field is 53 1/3 yards wide. So when you're throwing from opposite hash to the sideline on the hypotenuse, a lot of those throws are 40-yard throws. Like they're 35 to 40-yard throws, even if they're not like big-time bombs downfield. And they have to be delivered with a lot of zip. If you're floating a 40-yard throw in terms of air yards from the opposite hash to the sideline to cross that 53-yard field, that's going to be a pick six. That is not only going to be intercepted, that is going to be taken back for a touchdown. So you have to have real arm talent to make the types of throws that Brock Purdy has consistently made to open up this 49ers offense. I have no patience for anyone who says that he doesn't have an arm or is weak-armed or something, because that is an ignorant take with data like this staring you right in the face. Watch the tape, look at the charting, see where the throws are going. He is using the full width of the field. There's nothing clustered over the middle here. I think yesterday the Colts might have tried to defend the middle of the field. They couldn't because Purdy stretched it out on them. He had 4 touchdown passes on outbreakers yesterday, including that one to Jennings before Jennings turned into the Grinch, which was an insane throw to the side of the field. It put only where Jauan Jennings could catch it, stretching that 53-yard field with zip. I mean, it's really like the narratives around Brock Purdy have turned into an absolute joke. They really have. And all we have to do is show stuff like this, and it completely disproves essentially every single one of them. I can't help but put this one back up on the screen. I mean, it's crazy talk. It really, really is. Let's finish up the grades for the 49ers. Again, hit the subscribe button for the YouTube channel. Go ahead and check out the San Francisco Standard as well. But we're trying to get the 100,000 here as we wind down toward the end of the show. I have an A- for the tight ends. Kittle was an A+ player, but Luke Farrell blew the pass protection effort when he was working against the edge rusher Latu. Leatu Latu was coming around the edge. It reminded me a little too much of the play against the Eagles where Brock Purdy tore up his elbow and Hassan Reddick came against Tyler Kroft, the 49ers tight end at the time, and beat Kroft and got to Purdy and hit him at just the wrong time to tear apart the UCL. I mean, same thing with bad luck could have happened yesterday. Thankfully, it didn't. But then because Farrell was chasing the guy who beat him, he was there to pick up the bounce, and he turned it into a gain. And, you think about sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And if that play doesn't bounce the 49ers way, if that turns into a fumble going the other way, I'm not saying the 49ers would lose, but that game is not a 21-point game in almost all likelihood. So that was a good break for the 49ers. That's why the tight ends get an A- because of that play, because that was a blown blocking effort. Offensive line gets an A+. Good thing the 49ers didn't draft an offensive tackle. Mike made this point. We were texting earlier today. I think Mike tweeted it. I retweeted it. Everybody wanted the 49ers to draft an offensive tackle just to make themselves feel better, sleep better at night, whatever. If they had drafted an offensive tackle, it would have been a wasted pick, a completely wasted pick. Trent Williams is still going to play for at least a few more years. Colton McKivitz is one of the better right tackles in football now. There was no need to draft an offensive tackle this past year. And I'm glad that they didn't do that just to appease people complaining on the internet. Health is wealth for the offensive line. Brendel is a lot healthier than last year playing good football. Pooney's a lot healthier than he was earlier this season playing good football. Thought Burford played a good game yesterday. They allowed only 5 pressures and no quarterback hits yesterday. Great performance from the O-line. I would say B performance from the defensive line. They held the Colts to that 2.9 per carry. Awesome. CJ West, Alfred Collins, both of their first career sacks. Great news for the 49ers. Yetur Gross-Matos was back with 18 snaps. I thought he was effective. Maybe that pitch count grows. The defensive issues were not the fault of the defensive line. I thought the defensive issues were the fault of linebackers being picked on in coverage. And it's probably goes back to the schematics. They had safeties in bad positions over the first 2 drives. The first touchdown to Alec Pierce was against Jair Brown. That's a mismatch. Alec Pierce is going to beat Jair Brown 10 times out of 10. The second touchdown was against Darrell Luter Jr., but on 3rd and goal from the 16, there has to be safety help. There's no excuse for there to not be safety help. How the 49ers didn't have 5 guys lined up at the goal line to keep everything in front of them, I don't know. I could not believe it, but poor Luter was out there left out to dry against Alec Pierce, who's a really good receiver. future 49er, Alec Pierce. And yeah, so poor Luter, he was not going to win that one-on-one matchup. Where was the safety help? So anyway, I gave the linebackers a B minus and the safeties a C minus. I thought the safeties were the worst position group of the 49ers. I gave the corners a B minus. Shout out to Upton Stout. I thought he played one of his best games. D Winters was great yesterday too. He obviously had that pick six that helped raise the linebackers to B minus. Bethune missed 3 tackles, got beat by Jonathan Taylor a couple times, got beat on that first third down. But then Bethune exited with an ankle injury, probably related to the high ankle sprain that had kept him out. And Eric Kendricks came in for the final 10 snaps. So is that the start of the Eric Kendricks era? Are we going to see him start moving forward? Going to be fascinating. Remember, the Bears coming in Sunday have a lot of weapons, like a lot of weapons. I don't think Caleb Williams is a great quarterback. I think he's improving. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but keeping track of all these weapons is going to be a challenge for the 49ers. And then an A for the 49ers special teams unit. So if you want to take a look at these grades, please do sign up for the standard. It's in the comment section. I'll pin it up at the top of the final comment section as well. But go check that out. By the way, against the Bears, Greg Papa is going to be back on the radio. That's going to be awesome. That's coming up in... It's a short week. The 49ers are going to have to earn their money against the Bears. They've got Ben Johnson has 2 extra days over the 49ers to prepare. They're probably going to be a little bit fresher. Good news for San Francisco is that I think that they're better than the Bears, but maybe the rest disadvantage equalizes this game. 49ers over the past 5 games have been the best team in football. It's been the Niners, the Rams, and the Jags as the most efficient offense-defense combinations, but the 49ers are playing such good special teams that I would say they've been the most efficient 3-phase team. The Bears have been a couple tiers behind them, but they've been above average both offensively and defensively. And they've got a great coach. They've got an opportunistic defense. They have a potentially explosive quarterback and offense. They've got a good running game. This is going to be a tough one for the 49ers. But the 1 seed is still in play for San Francisco. So we opened this up with the George Kittle news. Good news. It's a mid to low ankle sprain. It is not a high ankle sprain for George Kittle. Thumbs up in that regard. I'm going to see if there are any more questions. Oh, look, we got a couple more super chats. How confident am I that the 49ers make the Super Bowl? I'm not confident in any team to make the Super Bowl. It's hard to make the Super Bowl. Even if you're where the 49ers are at, with all the parity, things are going to have to break in their favor. A lot has already broken in their favor. They're 5 straight home wins away from making it, but it's still an uphill battle. It's still an uphill battle. You want a trick play, a deceptive play designed to surprise the defense on every play? Well, I think to me a trick play is a gimmick kind of play. I don't think a play action, there's a fake handoff on play action. Do you consider that a trick play? I don't think people consider that a trick play, but maybe if you broaden the definition to that, then maybe it does qualify. Again, this is where the 49ers are at as a football team. It's a really, really good spot to be at. And then Sky Moore's contributions don't even count into this XY chart because it doesn't feature special teams. That's been the ace in the hole for the 49ers. No high ankle sprain for George Kittle. That's great news for the 49ers. They practice again tomorrow, and hopefully they got a lot of good sleep today because they didn't land in the Bay Area until nearly 5 a.m. coming from Indianapolis. So the schedule doesn't really do the 49ers any favors over the course of these 2 weeks. The short week heading into Sunday Night Football is tough, but they are coming off a December bye, and that can help. Some of the accumulated rest from that bye can help them get through this. There's your George Kittle update. There's your Brock Purdy update. I'm making sure that I didn't leave anything on the table. I wanted to leave it all out on the field for this update. Oh yeah, we can end with this. Look who's the NFL leader in QBR. All right, guys. We will see everybody very, very soon.